Hoi Ryzen, how you going? In this video we'll talk about 10 more Dragon's Dogma 2 overlooked mechanics, secrets and details the game doesn't tell you about. This is part 3 of the Dragon's Dogma 2 overlooked mechanics series. Check out the other two if you haven't yet, and as always, if there's something you'd like to add, leave me a comment. And also I'm planning to cover every Dragon's Dogma 2 future update, so if you don't want to miss that, subscribe to the channel now, thank you very much. Number 10, you can unlock different NPC portraits. This is something that took me a while to notice, to be honest. It's nothing major, but from the pause menu you can go to the history tab, open NPC logbook to check out some basic information on NPCs you're interested in, like where they reside and what kind of items they like as gifts. Right, so everyone knows about that. But what I personally failed to notice is that some NPCs have multiple portraits depending on where you are in their story. For example, Isaac here has 2 portraits, the original one and the eye patch one. Lord Faces has 3, and some other NPCs have multiple portraits as well. Wilhelmina, for example, gets an additional portrait once you finish her quest line. Not gonna show it to you here, go check it out yourself. And I don't know how many of them are there, but yeah, I'll be checking them out from time to time now. Again, nothing big, but it's a pretty cool little detail that I personally found a little bit too late into the game. Number 9, Batali colors. So in Metafear's cosmetics shop in Batal, an additional color tab can be found when changing your Arizen's or your pawn's hair color. It's simply called Batali colors and it only has a handful of new tones, but still it's pretty cool, it's pretty easy to miss. Additionally, new dyes can be purchased for Rift Crystals from this NPC Alexia. Her stall is in front of the Bag Batal Riftstone and she's got red, green, blue, yellow and purple. You can buy them and bring them to Metafear's cosmetics to unlock even more colors. So I was curious if you could bring the dyes to the barbershop in Vernworth and unlock them there as well, and no, you can't do that. I mean, all the extra swatches for hair colors do show up there, but they're grayed out. It makes sense though, given that Batal is famous for their dye business. Also, am I the only one who thinks that Capcom should consider giving us an option to dye our equipment as well? I don't even mind them making dyes single-use only items. It's just so crucial for Fashion Dogma. Number 8. When camping, you can interact with the bonfire to add wood to the fire. It does absolutely nothing, and for some odd reason it locks your camera, you can't move it around, and it changes the angles by itself every now and again, but it's a cool detail and I wish there was more stuff like that in the game. Anyways, this action becomes available only after you cook a meal. You need to come up to the bonfire from the opposite side and you will see the Bask in Warmth prompt. It will let you sit by the fire and add wood to it. In addition, pawns who sit on the dirty ground, despite having like 4 chairs to sit on, eventually fall asleep. That doesn't make them stop talking though.
These opportunities are few and far between. Speak up if you've aught to say.
Number 7. This one's more of a tip than a mechanic. In one of my previous videos I mentioned that you can forge Eternal Wakestones and Finder's tokens at Ibrahim's scrap shop and get legit and fully functional copies you can use yourself and send over to your friends and random people. So apparently these copies do not carry over into the New Game Plus. They just disappear from your storage. This one was mentioned by Dova Girl, by the way, cheers for that. I was curious to test it out myself and yeah, I started a New Game Plus and they all disappeared. Apparently only the originals do carry over. When it comes to Finder's tokens though, in my case they did carry over but disappeared once I started doing the Sphinx's quest. So yeah, be careful with that. Also, if you're on PC and need an Eternal Wakestone, shoot your pawn ID in the comments, I'll send you one. I still do have some. Number 6, camping badges. In the previous video I mentioned that after camping enough times in a certain region, your pawn gets a camping badge and can act as a guide. When you hear something along the lines of,
There are 1 or 2 places of interest nearby. I could tell you more about them if you like, Master.
instead of using a go command, you need to talk to them, and there will be a new dialogue option, I have need of a guide. They can guide you to riftstones, unexplored dungeons, campfires, and treasure chests. Like I said, I mentioned that in the Overlooked Mechanics Part 1 video, but what I failed to add was that they can also lead you to monster culling quests and escort missions. This is just my guess, but it feels like after patch 5, the one from the 15th of May, monster culling quests and escorts are way more frequent, but it could be just my imagination. My pawn just won't stop talking about them. Master, raids. Number 5, a cool little detail. If you have high affinity with your main pawn, they join you for an oxcart ride. Usually when you use an oxcart, your pawns just walk in front of the cart, vanguarding, but if your affinity with them is high enough, they literally hop on and sit next to you. This detail is extremely easy to miss because, you know, by the time you have high affinity with your pawn, you usually have like plenty of Fartcrystals, or you just skip time when using oxcarts. The next thing I want to try is to get high affinity with hired pawns. I think you can do that to see if they all join in for the ride as well. Number 4, Fartcrystals are not useless. When you forge a Fartcrystal, you get a fake copy of it called Fartcrystal. Just like when forging a Wakestone, you get a Wakestone, only Wakestones are completely useless. Fartcrystals, on the other hand, are full-on all-heal elixirs. The description of a Fartcrystal says a counterfeit crafted to exactly resemble the original in its outward aspect. The center is hollow and filled with sort of liquid. So yeah, Fartcrystals momentarily restore all your health and stamina on use, even the loss gauge, just like all heals do. They weigh more than all heals, but again, unlike Wakestones and Fartcrystals, they are not entirely useless. Also, if you befriend Ibrahim, he'll be sending you heaps of those. Number 3, this one's in regards to the day and night cycle in Dragon's Dogma 2. I saw a comment the other day where a person was assuming that time in the game doesn't pass unless your character moves. It's not a new mechanic. I think one of the Far Cry games works like that. Don't quote me on that though. Anyways, I decided to see if it works for myself and left the game idling for about 20 minutes without moving my Ryzen, and the time actually did pass. As you can see, morning came, so if you are in the beginning of your, let's say, solo run getting swarmed by zombies, you can find a safe spot and wait it out. Also, there's a sundial clock in the pause menu. It's right there all the time, yet it's really easy to miss for some reason. Number 2, this one can be super helpful, especially if you are in the beginning of your journey. It's very simple, it works like a charm, and it's not very obvious because the game doesn't explain it at all. If a hired pawn dies, all the items they have in their inventory, except for the ones equipped, move to your storage, to your bank. A lot of people know that. That's pretty much common knowledge by now. But did you know that you can use hired pawns to instantly transfer your loot to your storage? You don't have to wait for them to forfeit. You don't have to brine them. Simply hire a stray pawn, dump all the shit you've been carrying there for weeks into their inventory, all the rotten fish and bones and knacker horns, and then dismiss them straight away. Everything will be transferred to your storage instantly. You can even hire them back right away if they don't have an active pawn quest. It's something so simple, and yet I figured it out 260 hours in. And finally, number 1, NPCs that have high affinity with you join you at the hot springs. Also common knowledge at this point, but did you know that sometimes they physically walk back to their spawn points from there? I say sometimes because I'm not 100% sure if it's every single time. When you give NPCs gifts they find precious or talk to them too often, they become your admirers, and when you visit hot springs they teleport there as well to meet you. But when you're done soaking, they don't teleport back. Nah, they walk to their designated spawn points on foot. And just so you know, to leave Volcanic Island and return to Batal or Vernworth, you have to either walk past a Drake or go through Drabnir's Grotto. Both places are kinda dangerous, so if you can't find a certain NPC, it can be due to them dying to a Drake or a gang squad of knackers on the way back from hot springs. Again, if you can't find an important NPC related to your active quest, you can always talk to oracles. They will let you know if the NPC in question is alive or dead. And just a quick little bonus that I'd like to add here: blunt weapons are extremely effective against rattlers, Rockysaurians, and any other armored enemies like armored cyclops, and they don't bounce off. I mean, duh, it's pretty obvious, but I didn't know that because I'm a sword and board kind of guy. And quite frankly, smashing rattlers with a mace is oddly satisfying. Anyways, that's it for today. Write your discoveries down in the comments, subscribe to the channel for more Dragon's Dogma 2 content, updates and news, and thanks for watching. See